This question has probably crossed the mind of every curious child holding a shovel. What would actually happen if you dug a hole straight through the earth? And no, not a small pit for your campfire. I mean a tunnel that goes all the way from where you're standing to the exact opposite side of the planet. Before we even start imagining, let's look at reality for a second. The deepest hole ever dug by humans is the Kola Superdeep borehole in Russia. It goes down about 12 kilometers. That sounds like a lot, until you remember that the Earth's radius is more than 6,000 kilometers. So our deepest attempt so far is like scratching the paint on a car and calling it halfway to the engine. Now, let's throw physics, engineering, and common sense out the window and imagine you can keep digging without dying immediately. The first major problem you'll face is heat. Deep beneath the surface, temperatures rise quickly. By the time you're anywhere near the core, you're looking at 5,500 degrees Celsius, roughly the same temperature as the surface of the sun. That's the kind of heat that doesn't just make you sweat, it makes you evaporate. If for some reason you've been blessed with magical heat-proof skin, you'll still have to deal with pressure. As you go deeper, the weight of all the rock above you starts pressing down, and near the core, that pressure is about 3.5 million times what you feel at the surface. Imagine an army of elephants standing on every square centimeter of your body. Now, set the elephants on fire, because remember, it's still as hot as the sun down there. But fine, you've got super strength as well. You keep digging until you break through to the other side. What happens if you jump in? The moment you let go, gravity takes over and pulls you down. You start falling faster and faster, quickly reaching about 8 kilometers per second. That's 28,000 kilometers per hour, faster than most bullets, except you're the bullet, and you're heading toward the center of the earth. As you pass the halfway point, something strange happens. Gravity no longer pulls you toward the side you started from. Now it pulls you back toward the center, slowing you down as you climb toward the other end. By the time you reach the surface on the far side, you'll have slowed to exactly 0 kilometers per hour. You just poke your head out, glance around, maybe say hello to some very confused locals, and then start falling back in again. In a perfect airless tunnel, you'd fall back and forth forever like a giant human pendulum, taking about 42 minutes to make a complete trip each time. But tunnels aren't airless, and Earth has quite a bit of atmosphere. The air inside would rush toward the middle, get compressed, and heat up until it's basically a furnace. You'd slow down with each trip until eventually you'd come to rest in the center of the Earth, floating in the darkness, surrounded by unbearably hot air. And that's assuming the molten rock hasn't already filled your tunnel and turned you into barbecue. Even if you somehow made it to the other side in one piece, there's another problem. The idea that you dig from the US and pop out in China is a myth. If you actually dug straight through from most places in the United States, you'd end up in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So, after surviving impossible heat, crushing pressure, bullet speed, free fall, and molten air, you'd emerge into open water and immediately start drowning. And don't even think about building this as a transportation system. The moment you make a tunnel straight through the planet, it becomes a vacuum cleaner for oceans, air, and anything else that happens to be nearby. Within minutes, you'd have entire seas pouring into it, creating the world's largest and most dangerous whirlpool, which would probably collapse your tunnel anyway. So, what would actually happen if you dug a hole straight through the earth? In short, you'd face enough ways to die that you could write a whole survival book about it, and none of the chapters would have happy endings. Between the heat, the pressure, the suffocating air, the falling, the oscillating, the drowning, and the collapse of your tunnel, the chances of success are about as good as digging to the moon with a spoon. It's a fun thought experiment, though. Just maybe stick to digging holes in the backyard.